Another Friday Night by D.I. Jolly. Read in a funny voice by the author. I looked down with a smug sense of satisfaction as he slid off the knife to the ground. Of course, then I heard his phone go off and had to check to see who was looking for him. Let me tell you, the moment you realize you've just killed your ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend is a pretty strange moment. In my defense, though, he did kind of deserve it. I sat down on the body and started reading her messages. Thankfully, they were in the middle of a fight. There was no way I was going to turn him into a martyr, though, so I sent her one of the many naked pictures he had on his phone of some other girl, stating that she'd already been replaced. And then I got up and I kicked him again, really hard. What an utter dickhead. Among the random nude photos, though, I did find a picture of her. Nothing rude, just her sweet smile and playful scowl. A look I knew really well. She used to look at me like that all the time, and suddenly a part of my brain started to dig up long-dead what-ifs. I had to quickly push them back down, though, because there was work to be done and I needed to get rid of this body. It wasn't my first rodeo, so to speak, but I hadn't originally planned to spend my Friday night out in the rain burying a man, and yet there I was, cold, wet, and dirty, wet cigarettes, sober, and staring at a complete asshole who'd spent the last 6 months sleeping with or cheating on the love of my life. I swung the shovel down hard and cracked him on the head one more time before tipping him into the grave. In reality, I was really happy to be the one who got to kill that fucker. God, she had bad taste in men. First me, then this guy. I mean, I never cheated on her or anything, but I do kinda kill people. Oh, no, wait. I'm being a little unfair on myself. I'm not a bad guy. I just kill people sometimes. But only bad people. Take douchebag here, for example. 4 hours ago, I walked into a bar to have a nice quiet beer. I sat down, got myself a drink, and felt set to have a nice quiet evening. Maybe flirt with some girls, or get into a deep drunken conversation with a stranger. Normal solo Friday night stuff. The bar was a nice-ish place, bit of a dive bar, but not too seedy. I hadn't been there long when my ears turned towards the loudest voice in the room. I tried to ignore them, but when you're trained to listen, it's hard not to. "Oh, man, so what happened after you left the bar last night with that girl?" Through the mirror behind the bar I saw a douchebag put his best big dick smile on, and even pause for effect, like he was in a goddamn high school movie. Oh man, total fuck up. Funny story though, by the time we got back to my place she was literally begging for it. So at first I let her put my cock in her mouth, which was great because she couldn't talk anymore. Another pause hidden behind the sip of his beer, but really to let his friends laugh and make encouraging comments. But I could see the desperation in her eyes, so I decided to give it to her. A minute or two in, I noticed a bit of blood on the sheets, and at first I thought, "Score, I got a virgin." So I started to give it to her harder, stretch her out a bit, leave a lasting impression, you know. Then suddenly she noticed it too, stopped and started apologizing. Turns out she was just on her fucking period. His gallery of assholes all erupted into grossed out and disgusted laughs until one of them found his human words and said, "Oh, gross, man, what did you do?" Douchebag took another long drink of beer, smiled again, and announced with success in his voice. I pulled out, wiped my cock on her face, threw her clothes at her, and pushed her out the door naked. The assholes erupted in cheers and high-fives, and I realized that my nice, quiet night was over. There was work to be done. Lucky for me, though, they'd been drinking for a while, and their night was nearly over, so I didn't have to wait long before he stepped out to go home. When I jumped him, I actually wasn't planning on killing him. I was planning on fucking him up, stealing his clothes and leaving him somewhere public and naked. You know, an eye for an eye. His fighting style was the same as a lot of douchebags I'd confronted over the years. In his group he was the alpha male, and in his head he was the hero. So, believing he had right on his side, he thought all his wild swings would connect. In reality, though, training and practice more often win out. Occasionally you find one that does actually know what he's doing, but not enough to be a problem. I really didn't mean to kill him, but he pulled a knife, again clearly thinking that having a weapon means you automatically win. He was, however, wrong. I looked back down at his phone and saw my ex's responses, and I really did feel bad for her. First she sent swear words, then as her confidence began to crumble, which was staggering to me. She was always such a proud woman, spoke her mind, and that's what I loved about her. The thought that douchebag had eroded her personality to the point where she was asking what she had done wrong made me glad my night had taken the path that it had. I pushed his car into the river and started walking back to town. I thought really hard about contacting her, saying hello, asking how she was, but instead I was texting all the douchebag's friends from his phone, telling a cowardly story about running away from someone he'd screwed over. With some luck, it would make them rethink their leader and their lives. If not, well, then maybe there was some work to be done.